All right. Hey, everybody. It's Thursday. It is September 15th already. So we've got our client coach connection, our team call. Glad you guys came out tonight. I know you're busy, and the fact that you made time is great. It's really reflective of putting your health first. So thanks for taking time. We're going to hopefully make it worth your while. And you probably saw that tonight's topic is how to keep moving forward when the scale's not moving. And my name is Dee Corchin, and we've got several coaches from our team on the line and several clients who are going to be joining in as well, sharing experiences, because we've kind of found that when we can share our story and what worked for us, that tends to be the most helpful for other people. And there's a couple of reasons. Most of us, we're in this for a health program, but most of us have started with Take Shape for Life for weight loss. So it's really easy to get stuck on the scale and the number on the scale and watching it go down. And for most of us at the beginning, it's fun, right? Because we know we've got an effective program. It usually kicks right in. We start losing weight and we get really excited. And it's real easy to lose focus of other things and to start focusing on that number, which is not necessarily the only reflection of our health. And so after coaching for many years and talking with our other coaches, there's a couple of different scenarios that can lead to why the scale might not be moving. And it might be a little surprising when we start to talk about the depth that we're going to go into with it. Some of the obvious reasons why the scale might not be moving is with a plan like ours, a fat burning approach where we might lose weight. If you're on the 5-in-1 plan or a variation of it and you're losing weight, very often at the beginning we can lose weight at a rapid pace. And that's because it's going to reduce any inflammation in our body, reduce water weight. And so when we're losing weight in a fat burning plan, sometimes we lose inches on our body faster than the number shows up on the scale. And so we have to be patient with that. And as long as we're following the plan, that always catches up and the scale gets moving again. But sometimes we might hit a true plateau. It's really, really rare. And the way that our nutrition support area defines a plateau is an individual who is following the plan completely. And then there's no weight loss for 2 weeks. And we actually have some guidelines around that and some really key modifications that can be put into place that will get that scale moving again. So if that scenario happens, trust that we have the system to get the scale moving. The reality is that is usually not the case with when something's not happening on the scale. Some of the simple things to talk about first are sometimes, and I'm going to talk specific to those that are on the plan, our weight loss plan, is that sometimes there's deviation from the plan and it may or may not be intentional. And I want to give you an example of it. When somebody is on our weight loss plan, there's science behind it, and there is a specific amount of carbohydrates and protein, and the way it's all formulated, it's how our body responds to it. And simple things like adding more carbohydrates to the plan can keep our body from being in fat burning. So one time I had a client and she was lost some weight initially, and then just the scale flattened out and nothing was happening. And we went through her protocol, everything, she was following it. We called our nutrition support area. They started asking additional questions, and it turned out that one of the supplements she was taking Juice Plus, and she was using it in the gummy format. And you take several of those per day. Well, she was adding about 14 extra carbohydrates or something to the plan every day, and her body wasn't liking that. So I will say, if you're taking supplemental vitamins or something like that, the capsule form, if you're on the weight loss stage, really of any program, is probably better than the sugary gummy flavors. So that's the real simple. Sometimes it's as simple as weighing and measuring and our portion sizes. But another scenario that can happen, and I'm going to let Susan Giesland, one of our executive directors, speak on, is sometimes it can be related to working out. And sometimes if we're working out a lot and we're not eating much, that our body can actually get confused and not release the fat and what we want it to do. So Susan, I'll unmute you. And I know your client could not be on the phone, but I was hoping maybe you could share a little bit about that scenario.
Oh, absolutely. So I had a client, and she's now in maintenance, but she was very much loved to exercise. She would be in my fitness class, and then I come to find out that she would walk her dog for like an hour a day. So not only was she taking an aerobics class with strength training, then she was walking the dog for an hour a day. And so the first week, of course, she lost weight. She felt good. The second week, nothing. And she didn't understand. She goes, I'm following the program. I'm doing everything I need to do. And I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about your exercise. So she told me what she was doing. She was taking 5 of the fitness classes a day, plus walking the dog. And I said, you're not going to want to hear this, but I think you should stop the fitness classes for at least a week. And she was like, oh, I don't want to. I love it. And I'm like, I know. And so I told her, I said, stop the fitness classes for a week. I don't mind if you walk the dog, because she had an older dog, so it wasn't a very strenuous walk, but let's see what happens. So she did. The next week, she lost 3 pounds. So, I mean, it was just, she hated to admit that because she loved the exercise, which is really, really a great habit of health. But if we're not giving our bodies what we need in the form of the carbohydrates and the protein, our bodies will, rebel because we're working out too much. So a lot of times it can just be their exercise schedule. And so I have some clients, because they love to exercise and won't give it up, that I moved them to the 4 and 2 plan, and they can still lose weight. But that was definitely a major key for her, because she was doing everything else right. So it's all about asking those questions and finding out what else they're doing that they don't realize that they're doing.
Right. Like I said, yeah, it could definitely be unintentional. And it kind of reinforces that myth. Usually we think that, oh, I can exercise the weight off and more exercise would be better. But how often? I mean, that's why the gyms are packed in January and they're empty in March, because people try to hit it at the gym. And, it's that nutrition piece of it. So we've got to get that whole balance and formula right. And the cool thing is that she reached out to you. You guys talked about it and you found out what the problem was, and then she moved on, and then you said she'd reached her goal weight, right? That she's at in maintenance now. So you found the right formula that was going to work. Excellent. So those are kind of the obvious, not the obvious, but some of the situations that can happen specific to the plan. But I want to kind of go beyond that and go a little deeper than that, because those are easily fixable, those situations. The other is we're going to move into some mindset issues, because so much of our health and our progress and moving towards our goals has to do with our mindset. And what are we telling ourselves? What are we rationalizing? Are we giving up on ourselves before we even get there? It can go pretty deep. And also sometimes just looking at that, like we talked about at the beginning, just looking at the number on the scale and completely losing focus of all other measures of health. So I had a conversation this week with one of my clients, Stephanie, and she's agreed to speak with us tonight and kind of be vulnerable and share her story about what was kind of going on in her mind, and how she had gone for months and months of phenomenal progress, of committing to her goals and seeing progress, to it coming to a halt. And not only coming to a halt, but maybe starting to slip a little backwards. So Stephanie, will you unmute your phone? Not yet. We can't hear you. I'm going to try to unmute you. Hold on. All right. Try talking now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you are. So Stephanie, can you give us just a little bit of history of, when you decided to start getting healthy and change your nutrition, and kind of what your progress has been overall?
Sure, absolutely. I'm honored and yet also slightly ashamed, right, that I was the person who slipped. But hopefully I'll be inspiring, because I started right before Thanksgiving last year, and I kind of fell into what you guys were talking about earlier in terms of just working out like a mad woman and not seeing the scale change at all. And I found Dee in the program, and once we got on program, had been experienced really tremendous success, because I was now getting the proper nutrition. I was eating on a regular basis. I was being more mindful of the things I was doing and wanting to make healthy choices, and really exploring why I wanted to be healthy. And once we started making those decisions for health, it was easier, and the weight was coming off. And so I saw the scale go down almost daily, which was also a great inspiration. But then we started to drift. I lost, I lost I was down like 42 pounds, and wanted to go another 20. I had actually gone below what I thought my initial goal would be, but since we decided that I was doing so well, I wanted to make sure that I really reached my full potential. So my goal has been to now get down to a healthy BMI. But I started to, as Dee likes to say, and I totally appreciate it, tread water, because I was losing the weight and then it wasn't going anywhere, and I'd lose it and gain it back, and almost really falling into my old patterns again, which not only in terms of the types of choices and decisions I was making about what I was eating and when I was eating, but my mindset as well. And so I think I also hit one of those sort of unintentional, not on program moments, because I would be going 4 hours or 4.5 hours between eating. And in my head, I was still on program because I was eating, the meal replacements, I was measuring my food, but then things didn't change on the scale. And so my mental outlook started to slip and fall into those old habits of, what's the point of doing this? I'm not going anywhere. And I did not connect with Dee as often as I should have, because I was embarrassed about what I was doing, that I felt like, what am I doing wrong? And here I go again, I lost the weight and I'm going to put it back on. And it made me very sad. So much so that when the health games came around, I wasn't sure that I was going to do it, because I wasn't sure that I would be able to be committed to it. I didn't want to feel disappointed in myself any more than I already was. But I guess something inside was like, Stephanie, you need to do this, right? So I got online on Monday and I paid my $20. And the minute that I did it, I felt better. And I watched the first video and it reinforced the idea of why versus how. And I was getting focused again back on the why I wanted to do this and why it's important to be healthy. And immediately I felt better. And I feel I've lost a pound, which is so exciting. And it just really made me recognize how important my relationship is with Dee, and having her support and knowing that she's there to help me reach my goals, and that she really honestly, wants me to succeed. And having that support from her, as well as the rest of the community on the Meltdown Challenge, has made a difference.
I love that. Thank you for sharing, and for being so honest. I mean, and we were talking this week, and I think you used the word lost several times. You said, I was just getting lost. I was getting lost. And then you reconnected, and she used the words Health Games Meltdown Challenge. If you're not familiar with that, there is some information on our Eat, Live, and Be Healthy page. That's just an optional tool that we offer for our clients. But when you plugged back in and started getting the information more about health versus weight loss and program and us connecting, so it again just reinforces that community. And guess what? There's the scale moving again. So you got your mindset back on. So well done. And just keep going. Okay, great. If you don't mind muting yourself again, that would be great.
Absolutely. Oh no, now I'm going to talk the whole time.
So the next thing that we're going to talk about is you might have seen, and she said that it was fine for me to share, you might have seen somebody who was very transparent on our page. Allison Eman had shared not too long ago on her page how she was having a really, really frustrating time. She'd gone, I think, almost about 2 weeks of the program of not losing weight, and she felt like she was really following the program and doing everything that she should, and it just wasn't working. And I had talked with her several times, and I said to her, well, let's just do a consult. Let's do a consult with our nutrition support area. Let's just do a 3-way call, see how it goes. And in the course of that conversation, we identified a few little tweaks that needed to be done with the plan. But what was wonderful was Lindsay, who we worked with, started asking Stephanie, who works out a lot. She said, are there some other measurements? Are there other things that you're seeing in yourself besides the number on the scale that could be reflective of that you're making improvement in your health? And she's like, how are your clothes fitting? Well, it turns out her clothes are falling off her. Everything is way too big. She's losing inches like crazy. How are you sleeping at night? How's your energy? And, your aches and pains, and really helped redirect that focus off the scale, into what truly matters, right? The number on the scale is really just a reflection of our healthy habits and our overall health. And, but it's not the be all end all. And it was amazing that through that conversation that she realized that, that we call them non-scale victories, and things to celebrate, even when, a particular measurement that we want is not quite in order that we want. So I think that's very, very helpful. We like to celebrate non-scale victories. We put them in a pretty big category of, are you losing inches? How are your clothes fitting? Energy level? How are you sleeping? Aches and pains? How's your overall endurance? Just going up a flight of stairs. Are you not winded anymore where you used to be? Did it used to be a struggle? How's your strength? If you are working out, are you getting stronger? How's your mood? How do you feel about yourself? There's so many ways that we can evaluate our health or your daily activities easier. So that is critical. And that's the one thing, Take Shape for Life is an optimal health program. We have a weight loss component, but we are a health program. And that is really the focus that we emphasize. And I want to turn us over on the very last share that we have. It's going to be 3 people sharing. We're going to have a client and coach, but how he ran into a scenario of really getting close to his goal and the scale not moving. And then how do we start, once we reach our goal, how do we continue to monitor our progress and moving forward? So Jonathan, I'm going to start with you. And if you can just kind of share where you were, where you are, and kind of what's transpired with you these days. Well, we can't hear you. Wait. Okay.
A lot like Stephanie, we started around Thanksgiving. We started November 28th, and I had a big goal. I wanted to lose 103 pounds. And so we started, our health coach, Debbie, helped us out, and we took off like a rocket. And the first 2 weeks were amazing. And the third week, I decided I was smarter than the plan. I had read the book, and I was going to do it my way, and I started playing around. And it slowed down, and it took me a month to get out of my own way and listen to my health coach and do it like it was supposed to be done. And then I took back off again. So 8 months later, I met my goal. I lost 103 pounds, and I hit my goal weight. And when I got there, I said, I'm not done. Maybe I should readdress my goal. So I did. I set another goal to lose another 20 pounds. And when I did that, I also knew I needed to start some exercising. And so I worked with nutrition support a little bit, and because the weight wasn't coming off anymore. And nutrition support moved me to a 4 and 2 to accommodate my exercise. And I did that for a couple of weeks, and the weight wasn't coming off anymore. And so my natural tendency was to do it my way again and get back in my own way and do it. I'm smarter than the program. I can do this. And I was going back to 5 and 1 because 5 and 1 worked. I knew it worked, and I was just going to do it, and it was going to work. But I decided not to do that, and instead to reach out to my coach. And I reached back out to my coach, Debbie, and we reached out to nutrition support. And we decided maybe we needed to look at different things and a different plan. And it's probably a good time for me to let Debbie pick up and say kind of what we did.
Debbie, you want to unmute, or you want me to get it?
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, John and Lisa both have been just amazing clients, and they've had very exciting progress. And all of that was a result of doing what was given them, but they just have had a really exciting ride. But yes, as John neared the end of that weight loss journey, he started to be very frustrated because the progress changed. But it didn't stop, it just changed. We made actually multiple phone calls to nutrition support to confirm that he was doing what he needed to be doing, to be getting the results that he wanted to be getting. And we did come to a place where I realized, let's take a look at some of these non-scale victories, because you're saying you don't see big leaps and bounds and jumps in your scale, but how are your pants fitting? And how many times did you keep on having to tighten your belt, another notch, another notch, another notch, and, just things like, bigger biceps, and do things that maybe he wasn't even necessarily measuring. So he didn't see it until he started measuring them. Things like, well, how did I look in the mirror a week ago versus this week? Well, maybe we should start taking pictures, because then you have like evidence in front of you. Feeling stronger, having more endurance. Okay, well, I used to walk that distance in this much time, and now I can totally do twice that, or whatever. It's seeing victories in other ways. So and for sure, as you increase your exercise, you build muscle, you still burn fat, but the scale might not be changing a lot because of the extra muscle that you're putting on. So even though you are burning fat, you're still kind of putting some weight on, but in a very healthy way. So I know for John, 5-in-1 had become kind of a security blanket almost. It was a very comfortable, safe place for him to be. And he did struggle initially with changing gears. But I did have to remind him, and I think he and I kind of came to that conclusion together, that it was just really smart people that came up with the 5-in-1 program. The thing that had worked so well for him was created by these really smart people who also created transition, and they also created, the thriving afterwards. So it's the same smart people. If they knew what they were doing in this arena, they may know what they're doing in this other part of it too. So just trusting, even though you're not seeing what you think you should be seeing, knowing that it is working. Anyway, so with the frustration and knowing that we needed to look for some non-scale victories, we did the team coaching thing, and we reached out to Julie Apple, who is a health coach, but she's also a personal trainer, and did a Zoom call with her. And she was very happy to meet with us and to talk with us, and gave us awesome advice. She is a smart girl. And I love that we have these tools that help people to receive or to achieve forever success. So yeah, talking to Julie was pretty awesome. You're muted. I'm going to mute myself, but you're muted right now.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was just thanking you, Debbie, and thanking you, Jonathan, for sharing. And Julie, I'll let you come in here and just kind of share the things you see as a trainer and people's overall health, and what were you able to add to the conversation with Debbie and Jonathan?
Yeah, it was fun getting to do that together, because it was apparent that Debbie and Jonathan were trying to strategize as to what to do from here, and it was kind of like Jonathan had made it from A to B, and he was looking how to get to C. And so when we talked, it was like, here's the things that I've seen with my clients. Why don't you try things like this? So we adjusted his macronutrients and goals that he had in his MyFitnessPal. And so I gave him some different ideas and tools that would help him kind of hone in on where he wanted to go. And he very specifically said, these are my goals. This is what I want to look like. This is what I want to do. And so when we talked about exercise the other day, we actually got to talk a little bit more. And he told me, I want this, and I want to focus on these types of things for workouts. And I said, that's awesome. You have more goals, because you got to stay motivated, and that's going to keep you going. So the scale may not change, and you're seeing the same number for the past 4 weeks, but how cool is it that you're seeing more muscle and you're seeing your body fat continue to drop? And so now he's going to pursue exploring some trainers locally and working out at in a good, safe environment, but achieving the results he wants. So it was fun to look at it from the exercise perspective to help him go there and reach the next goal.
Yeah, that's incredible. And it's such a great reminder, because you want to talk about the scale not moving. Well, when we hit our goal weight, guess what? The scale's not going to move. I mean, it shouldn't move. Hopefully it's not going to go back up, but it shouldn't move. So then what, right? And a lot of people get stuck. They arrive at their goal weight and they get stuck. Like, okay, the scale's not moving. Now what do I do? And you set it up exactly, is that we really need to set that next goal, that next, what's it going to be? And we've just got to keep our focus on moving ourselves to that next level. And it looks different for everybody, but without that next goal and goal setting, we're going to get a little bit lost again. So Yeah, well, thank you guys for sharing. I hope this was helpful. I think you guys will all hear the common denominator is connection and teamwork and working with others to kind of see the forest for the trees. Or see the trees for the forest, whatever that line is. But we tend to, on our own, you think about it, people are never successful in a dieting world, never. Right? We know the statistics are horrible for diets. And that's not what we're about. And if we treat it like a diet and we just focus on the scale, we're going to end up in that bucket of people that are not successful. So you guys already, I'm preaching to the choir because you're plugged in and you're listening, but that's really what it's about. And anytime something's not going the way you want, or it's getting a little muddled upstairs in your brain, it's a great time to reach to your coach, plug in to our system. Because the education tools that we have will be able to help you move forward, and that's what it's all about. And speaking of connection, as we wrap this up, just want to remind everybody this Saturday, we're super excited. It's National Optimal Health Day. Nationwide, there are events going on here in the Atlanta area. It's been posted on our page, but we're doing a hike at the Roswell Mill. We're very excited about the participation in that. Dr. A is going to be speaking live at 4 p.m. that anybody can watch anywhere. Facebook Live, we'll be sharing the information about that. And if you live in Charlotte, you can join Julie Apple with her activities that she has going on. And our next client call will be on Thursday, the first Thursday in October, which is October 6th. So it's hard to believe we're talking about October already. So any questions about what we talked about? We've got a minute. Anybody like to share? We're good? All right. Thanks, you guys. You get on with the rest of your night. Thanks for being a part of this, and we'll see you soon. Thanks. Thanks to our guest who spoke.